Ayo, what's up, gamers? So, we've all had our fair share of bad debaters and people who have really silly arguments. I myself am one of them because a lot of the time, as teenagers or some junk like that, we don't feel like we want to reach a compromise and agreement, but really just want to make the other person stop talking so that we can feel like we've won. That's a natural thing to do. I do that with friends, teachers, parents, whatever. Stuff like that happens. Group mates, group projects, solo projects, homework, a lot of stuff like that. I mean, maybe not homework because you get a grade on that, but that's besides the point. I got a comment that is the embodiment of debating in bad faith, who I just know if I gave all the evidence in the world, they've already made up their mind and would not listen to me, just like what teenagers do. So, as opposed to responding to them with an essay, I just thought I'd deconstruct how they say something, and why it is an example of arguing in bad faith. To get context, or I'll explain it really quickly, but if you want the full context, watch the video about the minimum wage I posted like 3 or 4 days ago, and that's what they commented on. I deleted their comment because I didn't. Anyways, that's besides the point. So basically, their argument has about as much consistency as putty slime goo, and that's why it's gonna sound like I'm flaming them. So anyways, I'll just edit it in right now. I agree that the gap between the wealthy and poor is growing, but it's because the rich are getting richer more rapidly, not because the poor are getting poorer. The poor in today's society are better off than they were 50 years ago. Obesity is a more prevalent problem than starvation among poor people. Poor people today use their cell phones to navigate to the welfare offices to pick up their checks. Did they have cell phones 50 years ago? And everyone has a right to a living wage. It's called getting a different job if you don't feel you get paid enough. If simply raising the minimum wage was a quick fix to all the problems you mentioned, why not make the minimum wage $2,000 per hour? Better yet, why don't all these advocates create their own business and dictate their own salaries? And please don't use the BS excuse that it's not that easy and people can't just become business owners. Raising the minimum wage will only lessen the amount of jobs we have because it'll be harder to start up a business with more rules. So, once again, I'm not going to write an essay to explain why their argument is stupid. I'm going to be talking about how they say the things they say. But I will be... Okay. So, first off, their first 2 points was that obesity is preferable to starvation, because apparently it is, and cell phones are more preferable to no cell phones. Notice how the things they say, along with everything else, is not really backed by concrete numbers, but it's just, oh, that's common sense, bro. Those kinds of arguments are the most powerful. I mean, I would assume in that you don't have to, internalize anything that somebody says. For example, you don't have to internalize that millions of Americans and people across the world have died from COVID-19. You just have to understand that, oh, COVID-19 is fake. It's not real. See how one argument is about numbers and one argument is about, oh yeah, common sense. Duh. Have you ever experienced COVID-19? Has anybody in your family ever experienced COVID-19? Yeah, it's not that big a deal. One argument is about the feeling, the common sense. You haven't experienced it firsthand, right? And another argument is about just put yourself in another person's shoes. So those 2 points, those are and everything else in their argument is basically, why don't you do that? Huh? If you have all the answers to everything. And notice, I just realized that I ended up sounding like the exact opposite of what I wanted to sound like. Everything they say is in this lens of, I am the expert. I am the professional. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not some random YouTube comment about everything that I would know. And, I guess I should have clarified that in the beginning of my little essay. I'm not an expert either. None of us are. I'm just an advocate for social reform and economic change. And that doesn't mean that I'm expert, but it does mean I have I believe I have more credible sources. So, did I link those? I don't think I linked those, but anyway, okay, that's besides the point. So, the sources that I used use concrete numbers such as the executive paycheck has risen 3 times in contrast to people who are working class. That, executives don't work 3 times as hard. That, if we kept up with the executive pay raises, the minimum wage would be $22 an hour. Stuff like that. But their argument is, again, just things that are, oh, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? They have an answer for everything, in which, is making them seem more knowledgeable than they really are, and is not coming from a place of, yes, I would like to share some ideas so that we can reach a compromise, but I want to show off how cool my ideas are, how great my ideas are. And I realize some of my videos might come off like that, and this is a nice point of introspection to realize that I'm not an expert. I believe I've said this a couple of times. It would be cool to get a fan cam of me saying stuff like that. I'm not an expert. Everything I say is just other people saying stuff. But anyways, so the final part of what they said is kind of wonky. Start a business if you want to be paid more. This is actually something I would like to deconstruct a little bit. Start a business if you want to be paid more has the same energy as if you're depressed, just stop being depressed. Yeah, if everything was like that, then we would have all had that solution already. It's not that easy because people don't do it because it's so hard. Like, you can use a little reasoning to understand what is the ratio of consumers to business owners. Can there be as many business owners as there are people purchasing things from businesses? Like, imagine every single person in America had a livable wage and could afford the things they needed to survive if they all owned businesses. We would literally be devolving into a bartering society. Hey, yeah, I'm in the industry of string. Would you like to trade for your industry of food? Like, how... it doesn't make sense. Even from their own constraints, how are there going to be that many businesses and everybody in America? Like, did they even listen to what they had to say? So anyways, yeah, I guess their argument is just basically, I'm the expert, listen to me, which is in bad faith because they don't want to be sharing ideas. They want to be showing their ideas are better than mine, or that ours. And anyways, that's all I had to say. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and that's bars, and goodbye.